eWOD, Saturday, August 29th, 2020. Guys, we took a brief detour last week for endurance workouts to do an endurance workout, but more of the classic variety. Last week, all we did was row and run, right? But we like to spend some time in eWODs doing things that are slightly loaded, but that you can do many reps of that will still get your conditioning going. And so, like we found out that kettlebell swings will do that if you do them in a high enough quantity. So burpees, obviously, you know that wall balls will do the same thing. We found that slam balls will do it. Really anything that requires a hip hinge and low load, right? So we've got a couple of those movements today in addition to a sizable run, not a mile run, but a cash out run. So here's what we got. And we'll talk about how to modify best practices for the movements. This is a big old chipper. We have 3, 2, 1, go. You're gonna do 100 weighted sit-ups. So that's a med ball behind the head, sat up, past your hips. You know the drill for sit-ups. 100 of those. We'll stand up. We'll use that same implement, the wall ball, to do 100 wall balls, okay? After your 100 wall balls, which I don't need to demonstrate because you know it, we'll do 100, this is a new movement, sumo deadlift high pulls with a kettlebell. All right, I'll demonstrate that in a second. Finally, we'll cap that with 100 double unders, but if you're gonna do single unders, we'll double that. We'll do 200 singles. And then that's your 4 things, 100 of each of those. Already we have 400 reps under our belt, and then we'll cap it off with an 800 meter run. This should take us somewhere between 25 and 30 minutes, I think. All right, so that's what it is. Let's talk about some standards. I have my medicine ball here. The standard for a medicine ball sit-up is that the ball is going to touch the ground behind my head, and then it's going to touch the ground in front of me while my shoulders pass the hip crease. One of the best practices that I like to do, you can't really see it here, is that this actually taxes the grip more than you expect because you're holding on to the ball. So sometimes what I'll do is I go back behind the head, throw it forward. When I touch the ground, I take my hands off for just a second before going back. Loosens up the grip just a little bit so that I'm not spending unnecessary time under tension. All right, if you're at home and you're doing this and you don't have a medicine ball, what do we do? Same as we do for any other kettlebell swing type movement. I'm gonna ask you to grab and implement some sort of object that you don't mind safely going overhead with, but that wouldn't be heavier than a medicine ball, right? So not heavier than 20 or 14 pounds at all. So if you have an object like that at home, go for it. Up next, we would stand up with that same object. If I'm at home, I'm gonna do thrusters, single arm thrusters, 50 on the right, 50 on the left, not necessarily in that order. You can mix it up as you want, but all the way down, stand up, one arm, other arm kind of stays out here. Those of us in the gym will do wall balls, you know those. Up next, we have sumo deadlift high pulls. As I walk away to get my object, here's my kettlebell. The thing that people forget about the sumo deadlift high pull is to do the sumo part. What do sumo wrestlers do? They get out nice and wide, right? So that's what we need to do. We're gonna point our hips slightly, but this is where we get the opportunity to practice something we've been doing a lot of in eWODs, and that is hip hinging. So I'm hinging at the hip from the side. I go back, my back stays nice and upright. I'll go address the kettlebell this way. I need to make sure that my back doesn't round at the bottom. I keep it nice and upright. Knees back and out of the way once I'm ready to go. The object is to get this sequence of events to happen. Knees out and out of the way, hips forward, extend at the hips, and then I shrug and high pull all the way up to my sternum, okay? And we can do these for pretty large volumes, like sets of 20 if you want. So a couple, 1, 2, 3, squeeze the butt on the way up, right? All right, after those, you know exactly what we're doing next. We're gonna do 100 double unders or 200 singles. If you're at home, we got penguin hops, all right? Everyone can do those, so you don't need to double those for singles. And then we'll cap it all off with our cash out 800 meter run. Should be a good time. Should be nice and endurance-y for you guys. All right, guys, see you there.